All right. You'll click that little box on your screen, get that out of the way. And let me show you the login screen that we'll be working with. Let's see. Okay. So I'm going to be sending this email out to everybody so that you will have this if you don't already have access to what we call our people portal. All clergy have access to it right now for things like CEU credits and for entering those and for doing their consultation forms. And they can also access the church stats, the year-end reports through that login. But I wanted to be sure that all the lay people who are treasurers or PPR chairs or whoever all is here tonight, that you know a little bit about how this people portal will work. So I'm going to be sending the link around for this page in particular right here that will get you started up. Once you put your email address in here, as long as it is an email address that we have on file from your officers and leaders forms that you turned in last charge conference, then we'll be able to track you and give you access to the system based on that entry that's in our database. If you're not able to get your, this login doesn't work for you, it will be because we don't have your email address. So you'll need to contact your district office and be sure they get your listing in there as whatever the position is or whatever the email is. If there's maybe there's a new email you want to use that wasn't updated. So you'll want to be sure to let them know that. So I wanted you guys to be aware of this URL here. And again, I'll be sending emails out to all those the clergy, the treasurers, and the PPR chairs so that you all will know how to set up that login. I've had a couple of other churches already contact me and said, you know, I'm on a different committee, but I'm one of the people that, you know, goes, you know, works on the PSWs, the pastor support worksheet. And so can you give me access? And yes, that is possible. You'll just need to, again, let your district or let me know. And you're going to see in a minute where you'll be able to contact me when I get to the compensation form. So I'm going to show you just so you kind of get a little bit more of a feel for this. That's how you're going to get the to set up your access if you don't already have it. And then let me go ahead and log out of this. So when you're logging in, I'm just using a fake login because everything's on just in demo and test mode right now. Once you do have that login working, you're going to come to a page that looks like this, and most of the clergy are familiar with this because depending on whether you're clergy or whatever your position is in the church, you'll have different levels of access to different things in this menu. So this
Hey,
is
Donna.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We've got somebody in the chat that says they can't see your screen.
Are you on a phone or a computer? Because sometimes with the phone, you've got to swipe.
I'm on the computer. Can you hear me? I'm on the computer.
You're on a computer and you can't see the screen?
Nope.
What do you see, Bruce?
Come again?
What do you see?
I just see the gallery of people.
Okay, click the view button in the upper right-hand corner.
Yeah.
And one of those should be for a different view.
The speaker and gallery, and hide self-view, hide non-video participants, show meeting times, exit full screen.
Do you have side-by-side gallery as an option?
I can make that happen. I've done that already.
So that's what I've got clicked. And
I found it. I found it.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, great. Maybe you helped someone else too now that can see better. All right, but please don't hesitate to ask. We've got time for questions. We've actually ended early on most of these training sessions, so we've got enough time for that. So if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat or the Q&A. And otherwise we'll just open up the mics at the end and we can all talk if you've got more questions. So again, this is the view that usually a clergy person sees all this with CEUs and education history. But church members will be able to see, you'll have a link to the benefits and health insurance plans web pages from here. It kind of will give the treasurers and those persons easy access to, you know, some things that they might look at often, and even the payments page for the tithe payments, links, and that kind of thing. So, but when you're doing the compensation, you'll come in here and you'll have this compensation link in your menu, and that's where you'll go. And it should look something like this, where the persons, if you have more than one pastor at your church, you'll see all of them listed here, and each of them is going to have their own separate compensation record. You'll click on one of those and get started with entering the compensation. Okay, so that's how you get into the system. And again, it's going to open up. You might have seen that in some of our emails around April 4th. Once the cabinet has made announcements about appointments that have been finalized. So we'll open it up at that time for everybody to start. And Julie, you'd like those done by when?
The
The compensation entries done by May, is that right?
yes, May the I don't have my calendar in front of me, but early May, the earlier the better. Joanna's on here. Joanna, is there a deadline set for you all?
We haven't talked about a deadline yet, but it's really kind of up to, you know, whatever the crunch looks like for you, Julie. We're trying to, one of the reasons we put this system in place is it really will help us to keep track of all the data in one place instead of random pieces of paper or PDFs, photocopies that we often can't read when they get to our office and that kind of thing. So this is going to help us all be on the same page with the data that needs to be recorded for a clergy person's salary. So,
well, and also for clergy services to have what they need for the BAC for annual conference as well.
Well, yeah, as long as all the appointments,
right.
These records will be associated with those appointment records that hopefully we'll already have in the system too. So yeah, it'll open up early May, and as soon as you know that you've got, if you do end up having a new pastor that you need to enter compensation records for, or you're sometimes, I know the clergy people do it themselves, you'll have that access. So around April 4th. And I know that there'll be a bunch of other appointments that happen a little bit later. The full-time appointments will be announced around April 4th, just so you all know.
And Donna, we do have a question asking, are we putting in for this year or next year? And another question that says, what do you mean by a compensation entry? Is that something for us to do? Is that the term for entering paying details? So
yes. Yeah, as you can see here, when you come into the compensation system, it's going to open up 2 times through the year. It'll open up for July 1 after appointments have been announced, and after annual conference. July 1 is the start date for new pastors that are moving at annual conference. And then, of course, we have to do one for January 1st for everybody. So we won't have as many to do for July. So this will be a good kind of ramp up for people to get familiar with it. And then we'll have some more trainings in the fall again too, because we're probably going to work out some bugs and tweaks with this, since this will be the first go around. And as you'll see when we get into the form, there's a lot of places for us to give you extra instructions to help you understand how the form works and that kind of thing. And we'll probably make some adjustments, I'm guessing, after this compensation season before we get into charge conference, which, and again, just so you understand the terminology. So yeah, you've been used to doing a pastor support worksheet for quite a while. The pastor support worksheet isn't going away. It's still going to be there as a tool, a resource, if you need it. But this system, actually, you'll see that it does the math for you through your web browser. So you'll see how that works here in just a minute. Okay, any problems about or questions about the login and People Portal before I jump back over to that? Make sure it's not going to make, I probably have to log in again here. Let me see. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one here. I closed one of my windows. I did not mean to close it. So when someone comes into first gets into the compensation screen, they're going to see something with these 4 buttons on it. Okay. You'll start with editing compensation, and then you'll see as we go along here what the other buttons are for. Okay, but this is your starting place to edit the compensation record. And so what I'm going to show you first is the simplest approach for anybody that is with a church. It's a single point charge, and the church is paying everything. You're not, your pastor isn't being paid with any equitable comp or sustentation or anything like that that's coming from the conference. And you don't have any other churches. So there's only one church in your charge. So again, as I've said, we've got instructions throughout the form in these blue boxes that you'll see as you scroll down the page. So we've put as much information as we can think of that would hopefully be helpful to you. Don't be alarmed if you see a red box pop up somewhere along the way. You'll usually see it when you hit save if something isn't quite right, isn't quite there. And it will have some explanation of which field you need to go back and look at to make sure that that gets completed correctly. The district offices have been through several rounds of training with the system, so they're familiar with it. They will be helpful to you if you have questions, or you can also email me. So my email address will be here, and you can email me if you've got a question that you can't find an answer to elsewhere. Okay. So other things that are helpful here, we're going to have the worksheet linked here. I want you to get a look at, we haven't uploaded it yet. Right now, the link to the worksheet is just the current January 1st, 2024 pastor support worksheet. But I wanted you guys to see what the new one, how it will what it'll basically look like, because there's a couple of areas that are just a little bit different. And we've opened it up so we actually have more room in it as well for a little bit more information that can be helpful. This information was always at the bottom of the PSW, the Pastor Support Worksheet. And we put it back up here because recognizing that sometimes people aren't making this connection here between the clergy person's status, their service time, and then what the minimum salaries need to be for that particular status. Okay. So we've got all that right up front here for you, and put some things in red just to remind you of those kind of trouble spots. This first line, we've got a 1A and a 1AA now. So 1A is the churches in your charge, all the ones that are paying. Sometimes I've seen people list all the churches in a charge, although usually there's only a couple of them that are making the actual salary payments. Or there's only one that's your lead church in your charge that's making all of them. So you only need to list those churches that will be making the payments. So you don't have to list all of them. So this line is for those churches in the charge. In this case, we were just looking at Colonial Heights as a single point charge. So this is an entry for that. And that was just from a previous practice round here. We don't need that there. And then the difference here is this line. In the past, you all have seen, you might remember the top of the former form had A, B, C, D, E, F, G, a bunch of boxes. And one of them, like the C box, might be equitable comp. And that's happening down here on this other line. And the reason for that is that you'll be putting those amounts in different fields now. They're not gonna all be totaled in one field. So you can see from this drop-down menu that we've got all of those, what are currently the conference paying entities that might apply under either of these. And sometimes people might have two. They might have Equitable Comp and you know, Hispanic Ministry or something. Okay. So we've got two fields there for you to put those amounts in. Okay. And then as it goes down the page, of course, you can also, if the conference is paying something, you can add it to any of these other fields in those columns. And then that total for what the conference is paying goes into one AA. Total salary will be down here then, and you'll be using that number. You'll see also, actually it should be automatically calculated in the form. But anyway, I just wanted you guys to get a look at basically, so this won't look too surprisingly different to you when you see the new pastor support worksheet, where we recognize the need to keep it out there to help you to do some of these calculations, especially for the multi-point charges that where things get, you know, a little mixed up in terms of who's paying for what. Okay. The rest of it looks pretty much the same, except you'll see you don't have signatures down here. And don't panic. We have a way for you to get approvals from people in the other part of the system. So I'll show you how that's going to work. Any questions so far?
Donna, you had a question. If you did not hit save, does it save your entries?
On this, on an Excel spreadsheet?
No, on the system. On the
Oh,
compensation.
yes. Yeah, you can come back and work on it later. Yeah, but you're really, I mean, you're probably going to want to hit save before you close the screen. Yeah. Because that's going to help you know too if you have missed anything or you have any wrong fields or something in it. But yeah, the save button is always your friend. All right. So back to this single point charge form. And this field, this is another, we've tried to put in special instructions wherever we can to make sure you understand, especially for July 1 changes. If someone is going to a new appointment on July 1, there's several times that person's status actually changed at annual conference. So we want to be sure to have that July 1 status here, not what we thought their status was before. So if you're not sure, please confirm with the district office or your district superintendent. So you're going to put your district information in, and this is a nice thing that I like to show people about this. You're going to have drop menus on a few things that some of them have lots of data in them, but luckily you only have to type a couple of letters to search for whatever it is you want to put in there. And yes, someone asked this question yesterday. There are some people who actually are dual appointed to two districts. So you will actually put both districts here. We had been doing separate PSWs, pastor support worksheets, for people that were dual appointments, just so you know. We're doing all of someone's salary in one screen now. So we don't have to have separate forms for those. All right. So we've got the same fields you were used to seeing on the pastor support worksheet. All the same ones are here. We've added a few more that we had room for, of course. When you come in here, these effective dates will already be entered, so don't mess with those. That will mess up everything if you change the date. The salaries are almost always happening on July 1 and January 1 and always going through the calendar year. So always with an end date of 12/31. We do have this area. If you do have to come back and make a change, please indicate that there was a change and what that date was. That helps us to just keep track of the before and after of, you know, I know for Julie especially, it's helpful if there's a change because calculations change in the benefits and she's got to be able to see what it was and what it's going to. And it's helpful for us to know that if a revision has been made here. Okay, so again, the same thing with selecting a charge. do be careful that you're choosing, you know, we do have names of charges and churches that are very similar. You should be able to find them with the name of the city after it, just so you can distinguish if a church has the same name as another church somewhere else in the conference. All right, so that's the charge. There's the church. We're gonna look at this when we get to the multi-point charge, but I wanted you to be sure of this step. And this is for those fields, that one AA field I showed you on the pastor support worksheet. That's where this information will come into play. And if there is going to be equitable comp or sustentation for a clergy's salary, then you would be adding it here with that. The thing to add for the something the conference is paying is this Z Holston Conference compensation option. And again, you can just hit Z with a dash and you'll be able to put that in there. Okay. But right now we're just doing the single point charge where the church pays everything. So you can see how this screen right here is the only one you're really going to have to spend much time with. This is helpful for some, we have some clergy that might be maybe teaching at Tennessee Wesleyan or something and also pastoring a church. It's helpful for us to know that here. The conference isn't paying that salary, the colleges or whatever entity, other entity. So if somebody does have another ministry that's part of their being qualifying as full-time, it's helpful for us to know that here. So that's all this button is for, is to indicate that someone is also serving in another area. And you can note here what that is with the name of it. And again, it would be something that's not in this list above, which is all Holston staff clergy, basically, is what is in this list. Okay. So here we get to we've marked if you do use the PSW, we've marked which line you're getting these numbers from so that you can see what total goes on to this line. And so that will be the total in that far right column on the PSW that goes here. You have the same fields again that you had in the pastor support worksheet before, so that if the church is going to pay a portion of the pastor's health insurance, they can put that amount here. Utilities, again, all the same things. We have quite a few areas where you can put notes. So if you have some unusual arrangement, maybe you have made an arrangement with the conference office to say, well, the church is going to do this, but the conference is going to do this. And it's good to kind of explain that if you already, you have an understanding of how everything's going to be paid for this person's salary. And if you can make a note of it here, that's helpful. Any other questions so far? We good? Okay. Again, these are all these are lines you've seen on the pastor support worksheet before. So we're getting into the reimbursables area now. And again, if you see, if we change this number, for instance, to something else, you'll see down here, when you just click out to the side, it usually does the math and updates it for you. If for some reason it's not updating for you, you can always go back and hit the save button and then it should show you the correct amount. That does happen sometimes, so, but don't worry about it. Once you hit save, everything will total the way it's supposed to. And that reminds me, I wanted to mention this at the beginning. I'm working, you might have noticed, in the Google Chrome browser. Those of you that have been filling out a lot of our forms and registration forms and all that sort of thing, you might have already found out that you have a much better success rate if you're using the Google Chrome browser. So especially with this form, especially with the calculations and the amount of coding that went into it, is going to run a lot smoother with a lot less head scratching of why isn't this working if you'll use the Google Chrome browser. So wanted to be sure to let you know that. All right, I've highlighted this. Don't skip this question because just in case, is there going to be any equitable compensation, that kind of thing? you'll need to click a yes here if that is the case, if the conference is paying a portion of this person's salary. And you'll see throughout the form, there's places where once you hit yes, a whole other area opens up that you can otherwise skip over if it doesn't apply to you. So this is where you could put that amount. All right, and I'll show you that again when we look at the next scenario with multiple churches. Okay, so it's giving us the totals just like the PSW does to show what's the total with salary and reimbursables, what's the total with just salary. And then housing, does the pastor live in the parsonage? I'm going to add more instruction here just to be super, super clear. There have been times that people will click yes, parsonage, and put a cash housing amount down here. And that's a big no-no because that doesn't happen. Okay, they're either getting a parsonage allowance or a cash housing allowance. So need to be sure you only do one or the other. So in this case, once the yes is clicked here, you'll see that it automatically shows you then, okay, well then this is what the parsonage allowance is for this person. And everything else is calculating with all of the amount we put up above to demonstrate that, okay, this person is getting a salary that qualifies as 100 service of full-time service. So one of those full connection statuses like a full elder, a provisional elder, associate member, okay? And deacon, right? Full deacon. So, but what you may run into is, oh, well, I have a special case. I am full connection, but I'm not going to be serving full-time. So we've put these links in here that the conference secretary's office wants to have now. I believe, as I understand it, every year you'll have to update this depending on what your situation is. So if you're full connection and you want to be less than full-time, you'll have to request it first of all. And then if you're going to continue, like next year, you'll have to do the continuation form so that we know that you're going to remain less than full-time. And again, this is only for those that are their status is for full connection and that you're expected to be serving full-time. And then if you're going to be returning to full-time service and you've been less than half or less than full, then you'll want to complete that form. And the form itself, when you click it and download it, it tells you where to send it to the conference secretary's office. All right, we're going to get into insurance, and Julie will probably have some extra tips to share with you here. Again, we've got extra instructions here that sometimes people missed on the pastor support worksheet because there just wasn't enough room to say all this, but please know that just selecting your health and vision insurance here does not mean you're enrolled. So if you haven't enrolled, you have to complete this form first if you've not ever been enrolled. And if you just need to make changes and update, then you'll go here to get into the employee navigator system, which I know a lot of you are familiar with already. But you've gotten the links and to all the instructions here that you'll need to do to make sure that happens. And so you can see from the drop-down menus here, you have all of the current options available for this year's rates. Okay, same thing on vision, whatever's available there. And it's giving you the calculations of what that premium amount will be depending on what's been selected here. You have the same fields you did on the pastor support worksheet if you want to contribute to any of these savings accounts or reimbursement account. Okay, any questions about the insurance area, especially while we have Julie here? She can answer your questions about that. I know Julie mentioned this yesterday, and it's good to know for any of you that are new in the fall, this area can get a little bit tricky because your charge conference may happen before the final rates have been settled for insurance rates. And that just means you'll have to come back in November and finish this form up with the insurance selections.
Well,
Okay.
and the rates are actually set. It's just that open enrollment doesn't happen until November. So your clergy person might choose a different plan than they have in September when you do church conference or October. We set the rates at the end of August, so they'll be ready for the
Oh, okay.
Mr. Support worksheet. But somebody might change, a lot of people change their mind, you know, they wait for their spouse's plan to see, you know, some people will be on their spouse's plan 1 year, then come back to our plan if their spouse changed jobs, you know, so it's just a timing. Church conferences have to happen earlier, too early for open enrollment, because open enrollment can't start until close to the end of October. So, and the other thing that is great with Employee Navigator is those of you who are treasurers, bookkeepers, administrators, your clergy person can now go into Employee Navigator and print a summary of what they selected and give that to you. Your lay people can do that too. Anybody that's on health insurance can print a summary for you. It does not have the rates on it because our rate structure is so insane. It would not work in the Employee Navigator system, but you take what they signed up for, you can compare it to what they have put in this compensation model, and you can look at your rate sheet and know what you need, you know, what needs to come out of their check. So instead of having to call me and me going to Blue Cross Blue Shield's website to look up what they enrolled in, now they can go into Employee Navigator and do that. They can also, if you have a new clergy person coming in, they can go in there and change their address themselves. Used to, Blue Cross I was the only person that could change everybody's address for some crazy reason. You couldn't change your own, but now you can change your own address. So the power, you're empowered.
We're giving you all the tools.
I think there's a question down here. Let me see.
Okay.
My pastor is currently a student. We expect her to graduate and hope she continues with us next year. Will she automatically need to enroll in this insurance if she has been covered by her college insurance? Yes, so anytime you have a change, anytime you marry, divorce, finish school, move from one church to another. So pastors who move in the middle of the year, that's called a qualifying life event. That's called a QLE in the insurance world. Anytime you have a QLE, you can change your plan. You don't have to wait for open enrollment. So if she graduates, let's say she, you know, let's say she doesn't graduate, let's say, well, yeah,
her
she
status
graduates
might
in
change
June,
too.
at the end of June,
Yeah.
then she can pick up our insurance then. She does not have to wait till open enrollment. And let's see, if we don't pay anything for insurance, do we just skip this part? Yes, if your clergy person is not on the health insurance, the pastor support worksheet had a no insurance option. I don't think this does it, Donna? Does it have a no insurance?
Well, they just won't put anything in this field.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just exit out. Yeah.
Now, if they're not on your insurance, but they're 3/4 or full-time, the church portion will still be billed up in the other part, but you would skip this part down here.
Does everybody understand that? That this church's share is automatically calculated? Okay. All right. And then on to retirement investment options, where we get into pre-tax and after-tax. The form, the pastor support worksheet, PSW, only had the UMPIP option on it, and we're able to put in all the others now. You can do after-tax Roth if you want to. And because it's after-tax, this just helps you to have a record of it. It's not going to affect the total calculations at the ends because it's after-tax. And just FYI, I don't know how many of you watched the the great video that Knox Wimberly did for us last fall, because he is our tax whiz on all of this stuff. He's working on some shorter videos. We recognize that people might just want to like, let me just understand this. And we'll probably have some links here just around the retirement options, a link that just is a short video to help you understand how you might want to look at entering the information here and what it's going to mean to your taxes. And then, of course, the bottom of the form, as you recall, has your W-2 preparation, just information that's just for the church. Again, we don't really need it, but we know that it's helpful for you all to have it already calculated for you. So that happens at the bottom of the form. Let's see. Here's the compensation amount that's going to be used to do the following calculations then. The 7A pension total. For those that might have an option of whether or not to be in the pension plan, there'll be a button that says you have a pension waiver. And then we'll have to follow up with you on that. The system currently doesn't stop the calculation from happening for the pension total. So those are some special cases, and just you'll just let your district office know, or me or Julie, and just so we're aware of it, and then we can make the adjustments on our end that we need to. Again, so you've got all your calculations continuing to happen down the page here. Julie, do you want to explain the 4% minimum rather than the 3%?
Yeah, so on for a pastor's UMPIP, which is their 403B, which is personal retirement plan, which is different than the pension plan. The churches pay in direct billing for the pension plan. UMPIP is the personal retirement plan that the pastor contributes to. Right now, if a pastor puts in at least 1% into UMPIP, they get a 1% match into their pension plan, into their CRSP pension plan. We at Holston have always recommended at least a 3% minimum in UMPIP for a clergy person to retire, to have enough money at retirement, that plus their CRSP pension plan with our denominational average compensation or our conference average compensation, 3% was the recommendation. At General Conference, Westpath will be presenting a new pension plan. It will be the fourth one since 1982, I guess. We have pre-82, MPP, CRSP, and they're introducing what's going to be known as the Compass Plan. They had this ready back before General Conference got canceled. So they've had it ready for a while. They're presenting it. If it passes General Conference, it will go into effect January 1st, 2026. And in order to take advantage of all of the matching in the Compass Plan, you would need to make a 4% contribution. So the Board of Pensions thought it was wise to go ahead and update this form and say 4% is recommended, because that is what will be recommended in order for you to maximize the matching for Compass if Compass goes into play. Plus, we had a retiree yesterday say that he did 5% and he wishes he had done more. And so anyway, that's why we've changed that from 3% to 4%. But right now, in order for them to get the match in their CRSP, they just have to do 1%. But probably won't have enough money when they retire, according to the actuaries.
Since you mentioned CRSP, I don't know whether we may have some people that are, just kind of learning the ropes here on how to do their clergy compensation. I wanted to pull this up one more time, just so you see. I'm not sure if I showed it to you earlier or not. But you've got the different service times and statuses of clergy, and then which of those benefits they are eligible for. So when she's mentioning CRISP, that's what this is. It took me a minute to figure that out when I first started working with these. So I just wanted to be aware of that this is a nice little sheet that helps you to understand what clergy are eligible for depending on their service time and status.
Can we get a copy of that?
Yeah, it's available right here for download. It's also already available on, which page was that, Julie, that I know I found it on the website somewhere already.
Is it under the, I'll have to go look.
It's somewhere in the benefits area.
I
but
think it's under, the treasurer's. Hold on, I'll look on my phone.
But it's
I'll
going to
be
be
able-
right here at the top. So because just all the little, the worksheet is kind of a resource to help you through this form as well as that guide, but it'll be right here to download.
If you go to the Holston Conference website and go under administration and then go under benefits, in the blue box to the left, there's, oh, there we go. Look at Donna. Church treasurer information. Is that where it is, Donna?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is.
So you can click on that eligibility guide there. The insurance rates are there and the current PSW is there.
Yeah, so good, just church treasurer.
Thank
info,
you.
all available right there.
You have to, it's a scavenger hunt to find it, but
But not necessarily. People, I think, often forget that this nice little thing is up here. Like, I'm going to jump over while we're on the website and show you guys. If you type pastor support, this page right here, this is the one that you usually see at charge conference time that has the pastor support worksheet on it and lots of information. But yeah, don't forget this handy little search feature is over here. And you can jump right to things like this. So we've been putting and will be putting more of the information about this new system on this page. We had captured a pretty good training video from yesterday's session. So if you want to revisit all this, or if you want a copy of today, let me know. I can also save a copy of today's session. But this one is already available to look at, also to review later. And we're going to be putting all the other videos here as well. The shorter ones that I mentioned that Knox Wimberley is doing about taxes and that kind of thing. So just keep an eye on this page also for updates about what's happening here. This currently is the January pastor support worksheet on this webpage, but we'll be loading up the revised one here as soon as we all finalize it. Okay, so I wanted to be sure that you're aware of this page as well on the website, which is going to be in use for July 1. And then again, obviously as part of the charge conference packet for the fall. Let me get back to my screen. Where did it go? There we go. Okay. Oh, and another nice thing about working in a web browser. And this, some people may not even be aware of this, but it's one of the things since I spend all day working on this stuff. A really nice thing to know about your web browser screen is depending on which operating system you're on, you're either going to use a Command F or Control F, and you can jump to any part of the page that you want to go to. So we were just looking at retirement benefits. And then you don't have to scroll and scroll and scroll and figure out how to get back to where you were if you end up back at the top of the page for some reason. Okay, just a nice thing to keep in mind when you're navigating this page, since there is a lot of information here. Just remember to use that little browser search button, search option there. And okay, so we covered the 4% and what is the traditional stuff you've seen on the pastor support worksheet for UMPIP. And then we have this section for all the new after-tax options that we've added. So there's an after-tax UMPIP option. And again, you'll see here, we've tried to explain, do not put a monthly amount and a percentage. You only want one or the other. Otherwise, you'll end up having twice as much pulled out of your salary to pay these things. So in this case, we had the 4%. So we've got nothing on the monthly line. It's automatically giving the treasurer the calculation though, so they know what the monthly amount will be. Okay. But if you wanted a more rounded number here, then you do the monthly amount instead of the 4%. And it works the same down here. So if you want to do an after-tax, can they do both an after-tax UMPIP and a before-tax UMPIP, Julie?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay,
the after-tax option, because Roth is now available, so these are all part of UMPIP, okay? The before tax, the Roth, the after tax, those are all options within your UMPIP plan. Most people don't, the after tax was a category from before Roth. So most people now either select Roth and before tax or one or the other. I'm too old to have done Roth, so I'm by the time I knew about it, it said I was too late. So, but a lot of our younger clergy, now I will say, and Knox will put this in a video, Knox Wimberly said in the Board of Pensions meeting that there are some special considerations for clergy when you think about doing a after tax or before tax, because you have the housing allowance resolution option, and somehow jumping and putting everything into a Roth as after tax. I don't know. He's the CPA. He's the accounting
he'll
person.
explain it.
But we were in the Board of Pensions meeting talking about this, and we had two younger clergy who are on the Board of Pensions, and they both were like, "Oh, wow." And he said,
Mhm.
caution on this. There's special considerations if you're clergy. So that will be in a video once tax season is over and he can get that done for us. Or you can ask your tax preparer.
Right. Another nice thing I wanted to just point out here with it working through the web form, and since it's just line by line, of course, you can tab down the page too, just to jump to the next line. So I've put that 500 on the monthly amount line. It did the calculations for us. And we had one in here already for the monthly after-tax Roth amount. It's calculated for us. And then again, back to this W-2 preparation area that's here for you, and it's doing the calculations after you've put in whatever your housing allowance resolution approved at charge conference is. Put that amount here from line 13. Okay, so that brings us to the bottom of the page. Any questions about filling out the form online so far? Okay, like I said, you've got the blue boxes that are kind of explaining everything to you. If you're not sure or wonder why did that calculate that way or something, you can kind of see from some of these explanations what has actually gone into that amount. Okay, so then when you get to the approval area, before you get the approvals, if you're on a multi-point charge, you're going to do something called manage the splits, and you'll do the split amounts that how different churches in the charge are going to be splitting up the amounts. If not, at this point, you'll be clicking the save button, and you're going to come back to after you have actually gotten the approval from the clergy person, the PPR chair or chairs in the charge, and the treasurers in the charge. Then you'll come back and hit yes on those and hit save. So, but for now, we need to go ahead and save and move to the next screen. This again was the single point charge. So this church is paying everything. There's not any other paying entities. So we're not going to do a manage the splits on this. They can go directly to the report now. And depending on the reporting period that we're in, you'll choose one or the other. We're definitely doing July right now. If you choose the other one, it won't work. So don't bother. But you'll go into the July one, and you can see that everything you put into that form is showing up on this page. Some of it's been lumped together a little bit here with all kinds of where you've got UMPIP stuff up here with the under the church area, but that's partly because it is a single point charge. You got your health and vision and then some of the other things that are being calculated. So that the clergy person knows what their personal share is and what that amount is. Housing benefits down here for the parsonage. And then the W-2 amount. Okay. So you see down here, we've got those lines that were on that other page and saying, no, these haven't been approved yet. And, you know, feel free, this document is printable, downloadable as a PDF. I know the treasurers will need to keep a copy of something that you all have approved that matches up to what's in our system. So when you hit the print button here, you have that option to either save as a PDF, send it to the PPR chairs and or the treasurers that all need to look it over and approve it. Once you've gotten their approvals, and if it's the treasurer doing the form, be sure to get the clergy person's approval and review of it. And then print your copy. You can get signatures at charge conference when you're all together and get them to sign down here on this line if you want to, however you want to handle it. It's just it's your paper copy. We don't necessarily need this because we've got the data in the system. So once you do have those approvals, you jump just right back to the edit compensation, go to the bottom of the page and hit yes on those. Hit save. And as long as everything's making sense, when you hit done and submit for approval, you'll be able to just put your name and any notes, anything else you think we need to know about the arrangements for the salary. And hit approve, that everybody's approved it on your end. Then your district will be able to pull up any of the ones that have been submitted. They'll do their approvals. The DS will get to see it. And then it'll go on to the conference, and Julia and I can do whatever we need to do with it at that point and let you all know if there's any questions. Okay, so that's the single point charge. Any questions for those of you who are maybe on a single point charge?
I have a question about the signatures. Does the conference not see any of the signatures? They just see that little yes button that somebody signed it?
Yes, we are trusting you to just be honest that everybody has approved it, and once you click that button and hit save, and you've done the, you know, you're the person that is committing to that here with your name on the line, and that's it. You can have, again, you're going to have paper copy if you want to get people to sign off on it. And you can keep that copy for yourself from what you've got here to print out. But yeah, that's totally optional now as far as signatures.
So the approver there, name there, I'm a treasurer, would be my name, or would the approver name be the pastor's name?
It should be whoever is filling out the form.
Okay.
So, and you can change that. You know, what if there's a name already appearing there for some reason, you can put your name in there.
Okay. I don't know what all the other churches done, but in our church, I think the pastor has been filling this out for years.
Okay. Well, they're still supposed to get the PPR chair and the treasurers to approve it, look it over before they turn it in. So it still works that way. Okay. So as I've said in some of our other training sessions, if you're on a single point charge, your church is paying for everything, you might want to check out now, or you can stick around, and you never know, charge changes happen. You may end up with more than one church on your charge, and you'll need to know what that looks like if you have to split up payments between churches. So we're going to look at that next, a church scenario where there's more than one church on a charge. So I've got this one from the Three Rivers District. Going in to edit the compensation record. And I've already put some stuff in here so you don't have to watch me type. So this is just like a full-time local scenario, Three Rivers District. The dates are already in there. It's the Adams Chapel Halls Chapel charge. Both churches are listed here. And now I'm going to show you if we're going to go ahead and add some maybe sustentation or something to this. This is where we we need to be sure to add that Z Holston Conference compensation, meaning the conference is paying a portion of this person's salary. All right. So we've got some numbers in here based on full-time local. Again, you can see if you add some more information here, we're getting a total reimbursable expense is automatically being calculated. And it could be that maybe the conference is going to help with some of these expenses too, and you'll see where you can split that up later. And then this is that question. So this person is going to be getting sustentation, let's say. So you'll have to say yes here. And then put an amount on that line. Right, that's going to calculate into the totals. All right, in this case, we've got a cash housing amount instead of a parsonage amount. It's a full-time local pastor, so we're at 100%. That's good. That means all of the salary amounts and status and everything all line up. Same thing with your insurance. All the fields are still the same, even though it's a multi-point charge. You still have all the same fields to go by as you do on the pastor support worksheet. Okay. So we're going to save this. And because we've got various paying entities, we need to manage the splits. We've put some extra info here because the split screen, this is where things get a little bit more complicated, just because we want you to have a, you'll need to, whoops, this is my wrong church. I don't want this church to show up here. Just a second. We've got to make sure that Adams Holes is the one I'm looking at. There we go. Okay, so again, you have a lot of instructions here that kind of help you to understand what's happening here. When you go through the page, you're going to see some areas that are in red. I put a lot of the numbers in already, so you don't have to wait for me to type them. But here's a situation where what's happening is you have the total amount over here, and you need to end up with the total amount over here on these lines if there are splits happening amongst the different paying entities. So you can see we've already done that here. We're at the two different amounts for the two churches. I want to be sure you're also aware that I think this charge is Adams Chapel Hulls, but if Hulls was the lead church on the charge, I know you may have been told this in the past to list the lead church first on the columns that they're in, but this is doing it alphabetically. Just be aware of that. So when you're putting your amounts under these headings, just be sure of which church you're putting it under, okay? So here's the total cash salary, and it's being split between these two churches.
I've got a question, sorry.
Sure.
So who is entering so we're on a 2-point charge. Who is entering this information? Is one particular church entering it, or entering all of it, or how are we deciding who's doing that?
Well, the easiest way, some of you might already know, is if you do have a lead church on your charge and you have a charge treasurer, that's probably the least complicated way to get it done. But you all can have access to it and all be able to go in and look and make sure that, you know, everything makes sense, because you may want to log in anyhow to do your approvals and see how everything was split up as well. Although the report at the end will also let you see the splits, the amounts that each church is responsible for.
Hey, Amy, and this is Julie. I just have a question, because Donna and I, we're on the complete opposite side of this from you all. We see the end result. When you have a pastor that is at more than one church, how often is it the pastor has been filling out the PSW? You know, is it different for everybody? You
I
know,
think it's different for everybody. I mean, what we've done in the past, so right now we've got 3 churches on our charge. And so, in the past, we have met as our church has met and said, okay, do we change anything of our portion? If we don't, we let the DS know, hey, we're not changing anything. And I don't know how about the other 2 churches, how they do it. I've never seen the third church's pastor worksheet. So that's why, I mean, I don't even know, because she just got that one. Our old pastor just got that one in the middle of the year. So I've never seen the
Charge
third one.
change. Yeah.
The PPR committee fills out our pastor worksheet.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I had a church.
We're on a charge with, there's 2 churches, but they do theirs, we do ours. But on this, they'll do one, and then one of us will enter all this.
So I think yesterday we had a discussion, we got into this same discussion because we're all learning here. I think yesterday what we talked about was each church could still print off and have a hard copy of the PS. There'll still be a paper copy. And then you use that, and then whoever you designate, Donna can give somebody at each church access to this, or you all can say, I only want the charge treasurer to do it. And, you know, but each church will still have their own sheet. And then however you all decide you want the information entered. Because we don't ever see those separate sheets. I didn't even know that till yesterday, that each church would, because I only just see the combined one that I suppose maybe a lot of times the district has done. I don't know. Here.
Yeah, and keep in mind that you could actually, each church could do a separate one of these if you want to, because it's just a tool for you guys to use to figure out, you know, I know it's definitely much easier in terms of getting down to the W-2 calculation if only one church on the charge is doing the W-2. But if you need to split it all up for some reason, you do have that option here. You can submit all of these copies of this worksheet too, if you want to, yeah, if it's helpful to your district. There's a way for the district to upload any documents you want to send them to help them understand how you're handling the salaries.
Both our churches have a separate EIN, and we have to do separate W-2s.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody does that, but that's what we do.
Yeah, you'll want to pay close attention to the managing the splits screen then, and you'll want to do these forms separately. If that's what you've been doing, a separate support worksheet also to figure it out.
No, we put it all on one sheet for you all, but we know what's in our columns.
Okay, well, yeah, you already know how to figure out what the taxes will be, but we just put that amount at that at the bottom of the form just to help you guys out that may not be that familiar with W-2 preparation. So
Basically, we need, if you're on a more than one charge, you need to meet together as one charge before charge conference to figure out who's going to enter this or how. I mean,
well, it can be. I mean, as long as you all have internet access, you can just send everybody can look at it online with their login, or you can send them a PDF to look at.
Well, I get that part, but I'm saying to enter it in, like, how am I going to get somebody else's, like, let's just say, for instance, I'm of the 3 charges, I'm in charge. Okay, Amy's going to put this in for the 3. How am I going to get other people, other churches?
How do you do it? How did you do it before? Because it was still something that was one document that needed to be turned in.
We just turned it in. We signed it at charge conference.
Okay.
We let the DS know there was no changes, but
Okay.
Is that,
And
I mean,
fine, you'll still be able to do that. You'll have the worksheet you could all sign off on at charge conference maybe. And then just be sure it gets entered um online as well, once you've all been there to approve it.
okay,
Yeah,
I
because it's not
think
like it has
always
to
the-
be in the system at your charge conference date. You just have to know what the numbers are on that date.
I think we've always been told we have to have all our forms in ahead of charge conference, and this is one of the forms that has to be in ahead of charge conference.
That's
what we've
helpful.
been told.
Yeah, that's why it is helpful that you do meet ahead of time and you already know what you're going to be agreeing to once you get there, right? Okay. Where were we? The split screen. Okay. So this charge is going to pay a portion of the pastor's share of the health insurance. So maybe they want to split it between the two. And again, see how it's red until the math works, until this column matches this column. Or maybe, maybe the conference is needing to help this charge out. So conference is actually going to pay part of that. Can do the same thing with the utilities, split them up however you need to on your charge. All these the same fields that you've seen on the pastor support worksheet. And then here's that 5,000 we did for sustentation. So it needs to go on this column because again, this is the Holston Conference compensation column. So I need to be sure that amount is there. And then again, I've left this one so you can kind of see, oh, we've got some missing amounts here. Got to make sure the math works. All right. If this is the lead church on the charge, they might be taking care of all the housing. Can leave it in that column for the lead church. Leave that in the column for the lead church to handle the premiums. And then I've seen where some some charges might need the conference to help out with even pension amounts. I guess, Julie, that happens sometimes too, right?
Well,
Special cases.
well, the sustentation goes to the church, so the conference would not be paying part of the direct bill. That's the direct bill amount. No, just so you all know, the information on the charges in the database tells us who identifies the lead church. That information is what goes into my billing system and says, okay, these are the churches on this charge, and this church is the lead church. My billing system defaults. The default is that the direct bill goes to the lead church. If you want to split the billing between the churches on the charge for health insurance or for pension, I can do that. There's some additional paperwork that we have to do because the pastor's portion of the health insurance affects the W-2. So if I'm billing that separately, there's a lot of intricacies involved when you start splitting up the billing. So just if I've got, I think 2 or 3 churches that I have to split billing for right now. It can be done. If you want to do that, email me directly. Email juliegraham@holston.org and say, we want to split the billing, and then I will get back to you with some more detailed paperwork on how you're splitting and what exactly you're splitting, okay? Because it gets a little complicated.
Well, and does it not work for you, Julie, for them to do that here to say how much they want to split it?
Well, that's what we were talking about yesterday. They might want this here to show how they are paying it, not necessarily that they want the billing split. This to
Right,
me is a tool for them to say, oh, church A is paying this much, church B is paying this much, but church B might be sending the money to church A, and some churches want it that way. They want the lead church to pay everything. Some don't. So when we put the new billing system in place in 2021, it gave us the opportunity to split the billing. It's
Okay.
it's a little tricky, but we can.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a month or two for us to get it exactly right, but we can get it worked out.
yeah. And we're obviously giving you the opportunity here to split a lot more than you're used to splitting maybe. So that's where this page gets a little bit, like you said, a little tricky, but you could decide to do this however you want to. So if you want your paperwork to show that, you know, this church is, you know, only paying that amount, that portion of this. And you just, as long as the math ends up matching up on both sides here, you can make that distinction here. And then keep in mind, there are places where you can put in the notes, you know, Julie, we're showing how we're splitting it between the two churches, but we want the lead church to still pay the bill, you know, or vice versa, you know. There are ways to do that. And then, like she said, to let her know. And she'll probably end up following up with you to make sure anyhow, if I know Julie, right, Julie? Because this is a special page.
Yes, or the first time, or the first time you get your bill, you'll let me know.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not mean, I'm really nice. So don't worry about letting me
He
know.
really is, yeah. Okay, okay, so yeah, and then again here, if you need to do anything fancy with your W-2 splits, if you've already done the math, you can put that in here and have everybody agree to their separate W-2s if they want. But you just have to make sure you've got some amount in one of these fields that's going to balance the numbers out on both sides of the column. Okay. And then you hit save here. And then you really just have the same process we looked at earlier, where you'll do the report next. Make sure you're still choosing July for this case. You can see what all the entries are, each church's share, and then what the conference's share is, and then go and get your approvals, and then hit those, come back and hit those buttons at the bottom of the page to get the final. To say that everybody has done the approvals. Hit save. And done, submit for approval. Okay. That's basically the whole process. Any other questions?
And this is Julie. Guys, we're learning. This is new for all of us, okay? And Donna has worked really, really hard to try to run as many scenarios as she can. But when it comes to multi-point charges, and especially when it comes to multi-point, like dual appointments where you've got somebody in one district and somebody in another, you know, one person in two districts, and we know how complicated that can get. And just, you're not bothering us by asking questions. We'd rather you ask a lot of questions and us figure this all out together.
Yeah.
I think the other thing to remember is that I wouldn't get too stressed out about the W-2 part on this online form. If you're doing your own, if each church, you know, is doing their own W-2s and doing it that way, then you can still do the paper copy. That's a single just for your church. It's not possible because this is in the people portal. It's looking at it from a person point of view instead of a church point of view. So you can't go into the people portal and do 3 different compensation records for them, because we need, you know, there are other other areas that need to see the whole person, but you can still do that sheet for your church, for yourself, to help calculate your W-2 stuff at the bottom, the way you need to, because we don't need to know how you're doing your W-2s. That's between you all and the pastor and the other churches on the charge. So
Yes,
don't
but
think that somebody's gonna, from the conference, is gonna be like, oh, you said this on your W-2. We're not.
it's just there
That's
for
a
you,
tool
yeah, to
for
help you
you.
guys.
That's a tool for you. That's not a tool for us.
Yeah, and it's just automatically being calculated based on whatever you put in the information above, so. And, oh, shoot, I lost what I was gonna say. It's late. And nobody's asked this question yet today. I just want to be sure, although it was kind of alluded to, I want to be sure you all understand that even if you've been used to submitting separate pastor support worksheets, this is one salary record per clergy person now, this particular screen here. Okay, you can have as many copies of that pastor support worksheet as you need to make sense of all the numbers. But at the end of the day, all those numbers need to add up in here. Okay, just want to be sure everybody's aware of that this is where the total salary for that clergy person all the data is going to need to be in here.
I have a question.
Hmm?
We're a small 2-point charge, and we have a retired minister, a retired person who is our part-time local pastor. He's not finished his course of study yet, and he has waived pension. Could you show me quickly how you go through that screen to show the waiver of the pension? Because I know you mentioned it.
Do you know, he's not full-time then?
No,
Right.
part-time local, and he hasn't finished his course of study.
Yeah, I'll just change the salary amount and then
Yeah.
we can make this a PT instead or PL instead.
PL2.
PL2, okay. And we'll change the salary amount to something like, I'm sorry, what service time did you say he was at?
I think he's at about, it's less than half time, I
Yeah,
think.
if he's waived pension, he would have to be at least half time.
Mhm.
Because if you're under half time, you don't qualify.
Okay, maybe it comes up a little above half time.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it's showing half-time here.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, because he's half-time, you actually see the pension waiver signed button. You won't see it for someone who's full-time. And then we explain, full-time clergy cannot waive, okay?
Okay,
Once you hit that yes button, that just alerts us. You're still gonna see a pension total amount here, so we're gonna have to, you can work that out on the pastor support worksheet because it still gives you the yes, no button and removes the calculation. We haven't gotten that far with this particular trick here. But you definitely want to let us know if they've done a waiver form, because your district will confirm that for Julie.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's still going to show those lines like there is a pension amount?
It will still show, yeah. But again, on the copy that you guys all approve, you can cross that line out and sign it. You can do whatever you want with those paper copies now, really, because this thing is what we're going to end up working from. And as long as you've put somewhere in your notes, you know, the special case waiver form has been signed, you know, so there won't be a pension total amount. As long as we've been made aware of it, you don't have to worry about that. So
Is Brick River gonna work on that? Or
I think we've run out of money on this project.
we're out of money right now to fix it.
So in a couple of months, they may be able to revisit that for us, but for now, we just make sure that the button is actually there for anybody who can click it.
And what I do, just so you all know, I pull a report from the database and there's a column, it's an Excel sheet, and there's a column that says pension waiver signed, yes or no. And I sort those You know, that's one of the things I do, you know, as I'm going through and I sort those and pull all the ones that say yes. And then start checking to make sure I have the waivers. And then I manually go in and turn those off in the billing system. So it's a manual process anyway. That is confusing. I apologize. That's confusing when you get over to the other page, but just put in the notes, pension waiver signed. And we'll just know for this July session that when we click yes on that, it's not putting a 0 in there. The paper PSW it will be right. But, and if you click yes and, you know, if you get a bill from me and it's not supposed to be, you just got to tell me. I can fix it. I can go in and fix it.
Thank you,
I
Pete.
don't expect it to be, I never expect I get the January billings, they all start getting to be right about April, and then June happens, and then we have then we have a lot of mistakes in July and August, and so we have 2 year ends, right? If
Yeah.
a clergy person moves, everybody has 2 year ends that year.
So I got sorry, this is Amy. I got another question.
Mhm.
So let's say, for instance, so we just got our pastor mid-year. And so will we be doing this in July, or is this something that will be in the fall?
Only if their salary is going to change on July 1st.
Only if the salary is going to change. Okay. Okay. So if the salary doesn't change July 1st, then we won't enter anything until the fall.
Right, yeah, because it's already been set up
After-
as not ending until December 31st.
Okay. Okay. So after our charge conference, that's when we would enter it. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, I have a question.
Mhm.
This is Sally Bodenheimer. And I got in late, I'm sorry. And you may have addressed this, but we're going from a full-time pastor to a part-time pastor. And we don't know if that's going to be on a charge or not. So if we use this for July the 1st, I guess we'll know after we're told who the pastor is for the next year, but
They also should know what the charge is by then too.
right. So then do we still use this form? Is that correct? For the
Yeah.
July? for the
Yeah,
new-
this is all
July.
for July. Mhm. And forward, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. And I saw a few questions about a recording of this. If you do decide that you want a recording, I'll go ahead and add another link here on this page. So we'll have the March 21st training session also, if you want to go back and revisit this particular training session. I'll go ahead and upload that, so you'll be able to watch that here too, if you'd like to do that. Okay. Any other questions? Again, there'll be a lot more information coming, some more of those short videos that will help you to walk you through some maybe trouble spots in the form. And just let us know if you have any more questions. And if you want to make sure when you go to that people portal link that I'm going to be emailing to all the treasurers and PPR chairs and clergy, just make sure that whoever you need to have filling out the forms does have their people portal login set up. Okay. Anything else then before we let you go? At least 4 minutes early. Thank you all for spending this time this evening with us. We appreciate it. Everybody, we've had lots of people sign up and kind of get in the know, and this is very helpful. So we'll have a lot more last minute questions, I hope. You'll be seeing everything and be able to log into it around April 4th, as I mentioned. If you know if you're going to be getting a new pastor, you can get started on the form then. All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.